This is a free sample of the book, The Road to Wrinkled Bedsheets by Cairo Copeland. The first half of this book is posted right here on YouTube, free for everyone to listen to. If you like this content and want to hear or read the rest, or want to listen to it free of ads, visit reinventideal.com/bedsheets. The book is available on Kindle, paperback, and Audible at reinventideal.com/bedsheets.
Intro. It has been said that women need a reason to have sex, men just need a place. This joke is funny because it says something that's very true, yet the social imperatives tell us to keep silent about it. Men want sex more than women. Some dating coaches and pickup artists would tell you otherwise, but the only reason they say that is so you won't use women's lower sexual thirst as an excuse to not get good with them. The whole reason I can make my living in writing and coaching guys is because their angst for solving a particular problem is so great, and that problem is the reproductive problem. Perhaps the greatest difference between male and female is sexual thirst. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of books, blogs, YouTube channels, podcasts, and coaches for males that focus on the subject of getting laid. Very few of these mediums on the subject exist for women. You'll be hard-pressed to find a book written for women on how to get laid. This is because males have 18 times the amount of testosterone females have. It's just biology. Sure, women may enjoy sex just as much as men, maybe even enjoy it more, but they don't enjoy it all the time like males do. One female bodybuilder I once knew was taking testosterone injections and had as much in her as the average guy. She couldn't believe how over-the-top her horniness was at the time. "How the hell do you guys function with so much sex hunger?" she'd ask. I write so many books on the subject of the male-female relationship, but at its root of it all, the underlying subject is getting to sex. That is the one thing that is guaranteed to bring peace to the male-female coexistence, even if it's just for 30 minutes to an hour. That is one thing that is guaranteed to make all males happy for at least a little while. This book is all about getting to sex as quickly as possible, and as frequently. Being males, we are deductive problem solvers. When there's something that needs to be fixed, we immediately start looking for the solutions and try everything out. The reproductive problem is in the spotlight for this book, and solving that problem as soon as possible. It's not so much about sex. We think we want sex, but really, it is the side benefits that come along with it that we crave, such as the intimacy, to be touched, looked at, admired, smiled at, approved of, laugh with someone, feel safe, feel like someone's really gotten you, a recognition of your deeper humanity. How most males attempt to quench their sexual thirst is fundamentally flawed. That is because of two great enemies you will face, entities that made themselves enemies just because you're male: the fempowerment mandate and the blue pill conditioning. The fempowerment mandate, an external force, is the worldwide command to prioritize women in the social pecking order above males. The blue pill conditioning is both an external and an internal compulsion to treat a woman like a flawless angel from heaven worthy of your worship. These two enemy forces have convinced most males that what they need to do to get sex from a woman is to take her out on fancy dates, wine and dine her, talk about shit you really don't care about, make physical progress slowly at her comfort and command, foot the bill and hope for nothing more than a kiss at the end of the night. Then repeat the process as many times as necessary to get her to like you enough to have sex with you. This is the worst method to end the night with wrinkled bedsheets, based on old, outdated advice that has no credence in today's world. Doing that method may have worked back in the 40s and 50s. It may have worked for your grandfather. I remember my grandfather telling me stories about how he became a mailman just so he could have an opportunity to talk to my grandmother before he officially met her. Then he showered her with sweetness and won her hand in marriage after many romantic dates. These days are long gone forever. Back in those days, there were systems in place that kept a woman's hypergamy in check. Religion, conservative family values, and divorce being looked at unfavorably prevented women from having extreme, sometimes unachievable, standards for men. Two great movies that showcase this are Walk the Line and The Theory of Everything. In Walk the Line, The scene where June Carter, played by Reese Witherspoon, is shamed by another woman randomly in public for the fact that she had a divorce was not uncommon at that time. If a woman or even a man got a divorce, they were shunned like sex offenders. But as we know, 70% of divorces today are initiated by women. Therefore, this shaming mechanism was more of a shackle on their desires than any males. Then, in The Theory of Everything, you will see Mrs. Hawking stick with her husband, Stephen Hawking, throughout his descent into physical ailments, despite him losing so many abilities to continue being alluring to her. Today's women would have left him in a heartbeat and without a second thought, but this loyal lady stuck with him until the end. Were women better back then, or were the shackles upon their hypergamous nature just that strong? It's impossible to say, and irrelevant to speculate. The fact of the matter is that back then, kissing her ass to marry you so you could get sex from her made sense. Then came no-fault divorce, the fempowerment mandate, and unrelenting pushes for unfettered, open hypergamy. Even while marriage itself is dangerous territory and an all-around bad deal for males, many guys still flock to it in hopes of having a life supply of sex. But what makes the situation even worse is that the amount of sexless marriages today are on the rise. This will do nothing to solve your problem. Along with it is the rise of male virginity, which is no surprise because they continue to use the same method of the 50s, starting with going on dates, for which many women will admit to flaking on. Further, with women finding 80% of males below average in terms of attractiveness, many guys may not even get a date scheduled for her to flake on. How do we solve this problem? What are the necessary bricks to pave the road to wrinkled bedsheets? To get sex as quickly as possible is not only optimal for your enjoyment, but also for your relationship as well, if that is what you seek. Males do not open up emotionally until they have been opened up sexually. Women are the opposite. They will not get sexual until they experience an emotional connection first. Or, if they become sexual first, they will forge their own emotional connection to justify their sexual deeds to themselves. The fact of the matter is that they will pair bond more readily with a man that satisfies them sexually. The better the sex you provide for her, and the sooner you provide it, the greater the power you will have at suppressing her hypergamous nature. In short, sex can forge wonderful relationships, save troubled relationships, or just give the two parties involved a spark of happiness that makes their lives a little more worth living. So the world and the human race is better served by more sex. A sexual world is a happier world. The standard for this book in achieving sex or getting laid as quickly as possible is sixfold. 1. Getting to experience sex as soon as possible. 2. With a very attractive woman, such as 9s and 10s. 3. With her enthusiastic consent. 4. With the least amount of time, effort, and money spent. 5. Without being dishonest, shady, or deceptive. And 6. Without seeing a prostitute. Any incel could pay a prostitute. Any fool could be deceptive to get sex with a woman. A simp would waste lots of time and money in the process of getting it. A cuck would get it with her negotiated and unenthusiastic consent, and no one needs help getting it from an unattractive woman. What is being aimed for here is to get sex precisely the way that someone like James Bond would get it. He sees a 9 or a 10, flirts her up, gets her alone, then they do the deed. It's possible to have that kind of escalation that screenwriters fantasize about in movies happen to you in real life. This book assumes you've already worked on your fundamentals of allure, which is written about in the book Never Ghosted Again. This book also assumes you already possess the sexual intelligence necessary to not act like a drooling, thirsty simp, which is outlined in the book Don't Be Sympathetic. And this book assumes you already know how to engage in conversations with beautiful women, and that's outlined in the book How to Talk to 9s and 10s. If you're anything like me, the 9s and 10s are the ones you want. You're tired of just fantasizing about them, sparking up conversations with them that lead to nothing, or taking them out on dates to get nowhere. Therefore, this book will focus specifically on the interval of time that takes place from and including the first date to the moment the clothes start coming off to get sexual. This is not a book on fundamentals, making cold approaches, getting phone numbers, or asking for dates. See the previously mentioned books for those subjects. This is the road to wrinkled bedsheets, the fastest way to getting laid with 9s and 10s. Before we get started, I have a free gift for you. As a way of saying thank you for listening to this audiobook, I want to give you a free gift. At reinventideal.com/free gift, you will receive the ebook DMs for Dates, using Instagram like a dating app. What this ebook covers is how to carry conversations with women you wish to date on Instagram through DMs. And this works with both women you already know and with women you haven't met yet. I will show you how to save time, avoid endless chit-chat, and get her on the date sooner. So head to reinventideal.com/free gift to claim this now. Thank you so much for listening. Before we continue, we got disclaimers and a caution to read, because we live in such a litigious society full of complete imbeciles that want to blame everybody else for all of the problems that they have. No personal responsibility or anything for their actions, no. So, let me read this to make my attorney happy. You are responsible for your actions and behavior. None of this book is considered legal, personal, medical, or financial advice. By continuing to listen to this audiobook, you hereby indemnify and hold the author, publisher, and parent company, Reinvent Ideal LLC, as well as its directors, officers, agents, attorneys, owners, employees, and successors, and assigns harmless from any loss, liability, claim, or demand, including reasonable as well as unreasonable attorney's fees, from any loss, liability, damage, and cost arising from or in any way related to the contents of this audiobook. You accept full responsibility and liability for actions and results from use in any products, services, or suggestions made inside this book and its supplemental resources. Reinvent Ideal LLC specifically disclaims any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any techniques or contents of this book or manual or supplemental materials provided. By continuing to listen to this audiobook, you agree that you are voluntarily participating in these activities and assume all risks of injury, physical, financial, or other, yourself that might occur, and acknowledge it is your responsibility to decide if you want to follow the contents of this book or not. You are responsible for yourself and release all liability from Reinvent Ideal LLC and its owners, the author, publisher, and parent company. Before acting on anything in this book, seek the advice of a competent professional. Alright, we got the lawyers satisfied. Now let's move on.
Thank you for listening to this free sample of the book, The Road to Wrinkled Bedsheets by Cairo Copeland. If you enjoyed it and want to hear or read the rest, or want to listen to it free of ads, visit reinventideal.com/bedsheets. The book is available on Kindle, paperback, and Audible at reinventideal.com/bedsheets.